Never let your emotions take over rationality. This is a piece of advice I wish I heard much earlier. Deep down inside, I knew of course that this is better than the opposite, but I simply don't apply it enough because I don't think about it enough and I am not conscious enough about it. When you live consciously, it is a lot easier to keep your emotions in check when it matters. I myself have experienced many times that the moments when I live, for example, on autopilot, I have much less control over the extent to which emotion dominates rationality. In fact, it has happened many times that I have completely lost control. And I'm sure I'm not alone in this. At such moments, there's no form of rationality to be found, and emotion has taken over completely. To be honest, I think it's quite dangerous. And I also think that this is the exact reason for a lot of misery in the world. In many cases, the motivation behind people's actions is emotion instead of rationality and logic. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you shouldn't act out of emotion at all, because emotions certainly have a certain value. We have them for a reason, but we simply have to make sure that our emotions do not rule logic or rationality. The voice of emotion should never be louder than that of rationality, and it's very important that there's a balance in this. Have you ever wondered how many times you have allowed emotions to take over? How many times have you gotten into trouble for allowing emotion to be the driving force behind certain actions you took instead of rationality or logic? In my case, I can confidentially say often. This is not a good thing. Of course, I cannot say for you whether this happens often with you or not, but I can imagine that in the time in which we now live, it happens more often because, of course, this is a difficult time for everyone. A pandemic that seems unstoppable and from which I have the idea that we have to learn to live with, but which does result in people having a lot of trouble processing their emotions. In life, the life we used to have has suddenly changed into a limited life where many things are no longer possible or are no longer allowed. People become isolated and distanced from each other, and it's very difficult to deal with that. And I understand that very well. It's not surprising, but at the same time it does increase the importance of being able to control emotions and not let them rule rationality. Also, people drive each other crazy. Exactly because of what we are talking about now, conclusions are often drawn and things just assumed that are completely out of line with reality. People form a certain opinion without having all the facts on the table and based only on assumptions, rumors, and gossip. I cannot emphasize enough how dangerous this is. This is exactly why there is division, hostility, and destructiveness. More problems are created than solved. That's why it is important to regularly retreat yourself and pressing the pause button. Whenever you feel even slightly that emotion is starting to take over, let the other person know if you are experiencing this when someone is with you, and retreat for a bit or take a step back at that moment. At such a moment, of course, the situation is very intense and we don't give ourselves the chance to let this intensity decrease. Then we lose control. I've had this so many times, guys. And thinking clearly is simply not possible in a situation like that. But by taking a moment, you can calmly get a clear picture of the situation and react to it rationally. I really think you will see big changes in your life if you focus on this. When you can present yourself like this, you really make quite an impression and show that you have character. If you can control yourself in a situation and let not emotion take over while the other person is unable to do the same, the other person will later think back to the way you acted. When someone knows that you have such a character, they will speak and think highly of you. You will be respected. I hope you understand me, and I wonder if you can relate to what I have said in this video. If you think this video may be of importance to anyone, feel free to share it.